Yeah, I know Dr. Pars tried to come earlier. Zoom link isn't working. Zoom link's working. Yeah, sorry, I had to reboot my computer. Um, Troy, I don't know if you can ask Dr. Powers to try joining again. Again, I had to reboot. Um, and I don't see anything from Raquel. Could someone talk just so I could see if my sound is working?
Sarah, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Thanks. I just wanted
You're
to.
welcome. No worries. I'm driving. That's why I don't have anything on.
Okay, that's fine. And I know that Sandeep is going to come, um, and I will put the agenda in the chat. It's really basic. All right. Well, we have enough people to call it to order. I'm going to call the meeting to order at 3:33. Thank you for your patience. Welcome to our guests. And I'm going to do a roll call. Mr. Burney is here. He's waving. Raquel is not here yet. Troy?
Yes.
I'm here, and Dr. Pars.
I'm here.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Troy, Raquel's telling me the Zoom link isn't working, but I sent out that email. Can you reach out to her?
Yeah, I'll send her a text.
Okay, thank you. Roll call for the approval of the agenda. Bernie? Yes. Okay. Troy?
Sorry, I'm unmuted now.
Okay. Troy, do you approve the agenda?
Yay.
Okay. Ma is yay. Powers?
Yes.
Okay, great. Agenda's approved. I make a motion to approve the minutes from our March 28th meeting. Do you have a second?
I second.
Okay. And do a roll call for that. Bernie?
Yay.
Hillbrands?
Yay.
Ma, yay. Powers?
Yay.
Okay, great. And then our new business, before you jump to new business, which is basically to talk about what we're going to present for internal accounts, and then we are, Mr. Berner, holding a special meeting for those check requests. So obviously I saw some of the requests you sent were less than 2,500. I'll just ignore those.
No.
No?
I didn't send anything less than 2,500.
Okay. I'll look again. I was just kind of skimming through. I thought I saw something, but it might have just been part of the note.
No. Save you for the big fish.
Okay. So I'll include ones from before you went on vacation, and then the ones. So this one is the copier. I don't think there'll be any questions about. The tumblers for teacher appreciation. I know that's this week. They still want those.
Yes.
Okay.
That's still happening.
Oh, nice. That looks nice. Pool cleaning machine. Is this to replace like an old one?
Yeah. So what CPS? Yes. So to answer your question, yes, but CPS or facilities is going in half on it, maybe with us.
Okay.
So that's why you see the invoice for one amount and what we are requesting is probably half. And you're right, some of one of the ones for like ATI, we're writing one check for multiple invoices. So that's why I'm presenting it to the LSC.
Okay. And then we got the graduation stuff. Looks pretty standard. And then I just real quickly, wanted to make sure while I had you on the call that I could find these. And okay, I didn't have questions on the other ones, so if I do, I'll reach out. Okay, so thanks, Joanne, for coming. I don't know where Sandeep is. Maybe I'll try texting him. But yeah, so what do we think? We do have some more information for internal accounts that we think we can present, or do we need more time?
Yeah, I wanted to sort of walk through, if at all possible, with the team. I know we spoke, well, we met briefly, as you mentioned, and we talked through a lot of this, and we were peeling the layers of that onion back a little bit, and I'm able to, I think, talk a little more informed about the document, and I'm just getting to it, sorry. And walk everyone through this a little bit. So I've added a little bit to this. And for those who haven't seen this, don't be frightened. This is basically a formula for budgeting on a percent basis rather than an actual dollar amount. And the reason, again, just to recap, that we think this is going to be the best way is because we're dealing with actual dollars and not what we anticipate. And because, as we discussed previously, those funds don't always come in. Yeah, we say we're going to give $5,000 to science supplies. But in reality, at the beginning of the year, we don't have enough student fees to disseminate $5,000 to science, math, English, French, whomever else. The funds are just not there at that time. So this allows us to deal with a more, and sometimes we never get what we sometimes think we're going to really realize. Even towards the end of the year, people sometimes just don't pay. This allows us to budget a little more realistically with funds that are in hand. So what I have here is, does this need to be larger, or?
Yeah, if it could be a little bit larger, maybe like get rid of like the H columns we don't need, or yeah.
Does that help any?
A little bit
Yes.
more.
Certainly.
That's good. It's good for me.
All right, wonderful. All right. So what I did, we took the document that was used. I used the document that you guys created last year as a guide for creating this document. And when I say as a guide, in the first column A under account, you'll see all of the departmental accounts. Dance, special ed, theater, visual arts, blah, 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 blah. Those are the main accounts. And last year we said, let's throw this amount at it, that amount at it, this amount. And there were solid dollar amounts that were allocated to each department based upon the anticipated student fees collected. That being said, I've taken those same accounts and I did an analysis of, okay, and I don't know if can you see my mouse? I know sometimes it's difficult. Great. I've taken the total amount, which last year it was like $543,000 that was anticipated, which was that was 69% of the total student fees of the general fee that would have been realized should everyone have paid. The reason it's 69% because we account for the free and reduced students. And we are at I guess last year, 71%, just looking at the percentage here. That being said, I took that same number and did the math and totaled the department totals that were given. Roughly 57% of that total student fee would go towards all of the items that fall under departmental, under the various departments, I'm sorry. So 57% of that total of 543 would give us this total amount of $314,000 in column D. I did the same thing. Well, let's stay here first. So that being said, the way this formula works is basically, for example, of this 57% of the total budget here in column C, dance would, of that, again, I was going by the total amounts that were allocated last year. Of that 57% that would go towards departments, 2.88% was going to dance, 1.44, 1.17, theater, blah, blah, blah. So I took the same percentages and used them in this formula as well. As you can see, athletics has a huge chunk, so does yearbook, and smaller amounts as we get down further to those departments that don't require a lot of financial support, at least. So I took that same, again, algorithm and applied it here. We also have a column here, and this is in the green, miscellaneous supplies. Again, using the same data from last year's approved budget and what was allocated, roughly 15% of the total student fee collected was used for these various things: handbook, paper, postage, the postage machine, copier, the copier lease, Scantrons. So here are the same, did the same algorithm there. Here are those percentages. Software, same thing here. Here are the various software packages that were listed. I did add the Albert IO that was not on last year, but I know we paid for that this year. So I added that here. And that's about 11% of the budget. Special projects, not really sure what this was all about, but I am familiar with this translation services, of course, Loyola Dual Credit, some of the test prep, which was sort of used this year, thank goodness, with MFT funds. So we were able to save money in that way. Same things with textbooks. If you get down here, we did get sort of a list. I don't know if you had a chance to look at that, Sarah. Wasn't very detailed. There were some, it was more so ballpark, and I understand we didn't actually get quotes. The department chairs didn't get quotes. So they were sort of shooting in the dark a little bit about their needs for next year. That being said, all of this totals this 100% here. And that's what we see here. Those make up the 100, these different categories, I'm sorry, make up the 100%. Are there any questions before I go on?
I have questions, yeah.
Certainly.
My question is, does the class fee activity fee, is that equal to the total fee allocated in all instances?
No. So
No.
that's what I was going to get to. So that's
Okay.
those, the ones they're talking about that are in blue here.
Yeah, but before we can, and then before we go there, I can ask another question, sorry, about software. We did, I see that you say we didn't buy those, but we did buy a lot of those. So
And
if you need me to find the requests.
no,
or-
and I know some of them are there, and I just have to put the,
Oh, okay.
and that's why this is blank. So that's the part of the more homework that I'll need to do to complete the column F, which is the actual FY22 expended. So there is this section in green, blue, and whatever color this is, but I have to fill in the blanks here. I don't think that's going to stop us from really doing the work. It's more for information, so we make a more informed decision of what we bought, how much we use, what we didn't use, and then the percentages, which are calculated in column G, as in George. But yeah, you can see that was done up top here, but I haven't gotten all of the information for like the handbook and how much we really bought, how much paper we really bought, because the way things were done, it's really hard to track. Quite honestly, when you're working with budgeted funds, you can earmark each budgeted line and say, this is for supplies for math, this is for equipment for math, this is for professional development for math. So you can zoom in on those lines and not have to comb through a bunch of data. This is a lot more time consuming, unfortunately, the way we've been sort of doing business in the past. So it's just going to take me a little more time, but I'll get it filled in. But did you have another question, Sarah, before I started talking about the
No, that was
activity
it.
fees?
That's it. Yeah.
Okay. So what we also discovered, and again, this was a learning experience for myself as well, so bear with me if I'm not explaining this clearly. Again, the $400 student fee is what are the numbers we're looking at right now in black under the departmental lines in black. What I've done is sort of grouped up under those that were applicable in blue, the corresponding class fee or activity fee. And I'm still a little lost as to what the difference is between a class fee and activity fee. And Dr. Powers, you may be able to shed a little light, or maybe not.
I think I
Sorry
can.
to put you on the spot.
Yeah, the class fee is the activity fee is the general fee that is charged to all students, minus those who have fee waivers. And that's the figure of, what was it, $400, I think, at the moment, something in that neighborhood. And the class fees are the fees charged for certain courses that students take because of, for example, a good many consumables or extra equipment or something like that. So it includes some of the sciences, some of the arts classes and so forth. I don't have all that in front of me at the moment, but that's the distinction.
And that makes sense to me. And what I was finding though, and here, for example, is exactly what you're saying. Part of the $400 fee we'd see here in dance. But when I went through the internal accounts a little closer, you'll see the activity fee here for dance and the corresponding number for that. But then there's also a dance class fee. So I don't know if that's, and I see that for also theater, vocal music, instrument music, like you'll see a band fee. And then, so you see these double fees in addition to, and maybe, that's something I can reach out to Jeremy just to get a little more clarification on. But
That would be good.
Let me explain this a little bit. What I did find out, I did do the paper trail. Typically, what is done is, from what I've seen, is that the main accounts, the dance account, not the activity or class fee, but the main fees are the ones that are expended first. When it's time to make a purchase, these are usually depleted first. As Dr. Powers mentioned, the supplemental, and I'll call it supplemental activity fees or class fees, are assigned or utilized once those original fees that have been allocated have been depleted. So for example, if dance was allocated in this top row here, $9,000, $9,061, and say they had depleted all 961, they would then default to these two under dance class activity or dance activity fee to supplement future purchases that are maybe required for whatever events that are going on. So again, the primary accounts are utilized first, and then the supplemental accounts in blue, which are the activity or class accounts, are utilized to sort of backfill or supplement those purchases. Any questions so far?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just really hard to. My thought I put in the chat was maybe he did that first because he took whatever fee, like money we had, and he funded those department line items first, like the 20, like budget two, like dance 26101. Maybe he funded those first. Then he waited till he got more fees, and then he and collected the class fees and then funded those? I don't.
No, so the way the fees come in, remember, the activity fee is going to come in under a uh, different line, period. They come in as a activity fee, not as part of the general fee that every student is allocated. So of the $400, everything in black gets split up. If you're taking dance and there's a certain dance class or a certain visual arts class or whatever that requires this additional fee, then that is put on the student's debt specifically to that account. Hope that
Yeah,
makes
it seems like from a bookkeeping point of view, maybe we need to ask that question a little better. Like, is this for X class that we've collected the fee for? So we take it out of the right line item. If we're really going to be allocating it that way, otherwise it seems like so much work to have these extra line items if we're not really utilizing it as it was intended. And I think then it will help. That could also clarify a question in the department chair minds is, what is my budget for dance? It's 9,000, but then you have this additional, it just happens to be almost 9,000, like 9,000 from your class fees. And that's for a different, like you should be using that money for something else.
So it's two ways of looking at it. I hear what you're saying as far as, from an accounting standpoint, let's just, increase the fee or increase the percentage. Why take two separate fees? And again,
taking the fees is fine. It's just like allocating them when you spend it, when you pay the bill, making
well,
sure.
that's usually not a problem for me,
Right.
because what they're doing is indicating on the form they submit to us, they have to indicate which account it's coming out of. So they're usually in contact with me, touching base with me, asking what balances are. I answer that question daily from departments, especially this time of year. How much is left in these accounts? Some of them only have one account. As Dr. Powers mentioned, mostly those accounts that are the consumable driven accounts.
Can you scroll down to the athletic line again? Where'd it go?
Where'd it go? There it is here.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. So just so everyone, Mr. Bernie and I talked a lot about this, but that 24%, that 75,000, is mostly busing. It's almost all
And referees.
And referees, right? And then
and sometimes fees.
And then the sports team fee, that's just one line item, and then you disperse that to the individual track. If they had 10 water polo people play, then does the money from the 10 water polo people go to the water polo line?
So the way it appears is that a percentage of the student fee is going towards athletics. Then there's an individual team fee that they pay into. For example, if you look at the math here, a total of $101,000 was expended according to the chart of accounts for athletics period. Of that, we've almost, 97%, almost 98% of it was used. But we only dispersed 75. You're like, well, how did we do that? Because this sports team fee has been feeding, it is supplementing the expenses of athletics. So the team fees that are paid also funnel and supplement. And then on top of that, there's an individual fee for, say, tennis that's paid totally separate, that goes directly to the team.
And how do we know what that amount is?
It'll vary, and that's the amount where we know that if it's varsity, it's 115. If it's, I'm sorry, if it's freshman, it's 115. I think if it's varsity, it was like
175.
175.
And that doesn't go to the 26510? It does.
That does. But I'm saying, but in addition to that, there's another team, there can be another team fee.
Right. I don't know what those are. Okay, so like if I was in the meeting next Tuesday, I think this is the part that's gonna get a lot of scrutiny. One is that 115, 175, that feeds the sports team fee, the 26510. Certain teams might ask for additional fees that's not published anywhere on our website. Can we find out what that is, Dr. Powers? Like if soccer has a special fee in addition to the sports team fee? I didn't realize that until we started talking.
And go ahead, Dr. Powers, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that, some of the teams will do additional fundraiser, or people will voluntarily purchase, additional not equipment, but additional accessories, I guess is the best way to do it. Some teams are more likely to do that than others. Things like bags and warm-up jackets and so forth that are not part of the regular uniform, whereas some teams don't even have those kind of things particularly.
And is that something that it's just kind of decided that year, like based on what they want? I mean,
I think, from my experience, just at other schools, it varies. You're not buying full uniforms and equipment every year. Water polo.
I think that's what people think that 175 is paying for, and that's not. That's all. I'm just trying to be really transparent in what that fee is used for, and it's mostly transportation and refs.
Correct. Transportation, refs, entry fees, things of that nature. We have to sometimes pay to participate. I write those checks weekly for Mr. Stroke, for these teams to participate in some of these tournaments. So it gets costly. The transportation is huge. That is very costly. Most times I don't see an invoice any less than $500 or $600 just for transportation per game, per day, like per team. It costs, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it's really important to communicate that a lot of that $400 fee is for athletics. 24% of it is, and then the students pay an additional fee, and then if they want to do, there's going to be some scrutiny of like how are the individual sports lines items funded, but I think how they're funded is through fundraising. Is kind of there's no
fundraising, or they can elect to do an additional team fee if they elect to. If they decide, hey, we don't want to fundraise, let's all just kick in $50 or whatever the needs are for that particular year. I don't think there's a standard fee, quite honestly, for those individual teams. And even if it's for baseball, if it's $100 this year, it might be $20 next year because, hey, we bought enough equipment, we bought enough bats, we bought enough whatever it was in the previous season where we don't need to restock like that again. So I think that'll vary. And I think if we explain it that way, it'll make a little more sense.
Right. And then that will explain, like, if the baseball team has a lot more money, maybe they did a huge fundraiser. And then that's another whole conversation of like equity and fundraising. That's not this conversation. So I do want to be like, we've been talking for a half hour, so I'm going to let you, talk, and then definitely want to have Sandeep present about tech.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll breeze through this. And I know we're going to talk more about this offline, Sarah, you and I, and just to get some of these gaps filled in. But I wanted to give everyone, maybe not the details, but give just a sense of how this works, where this came from, where the data was driven from, what was used, both last year's approved numbers as well as this year's expended, so we can make an analysis. And just really quick, this column G, what we did basically was say, okay, this was what was allocated in E, this is what has been expended, and here's the percentage that was expended. The way these formulas work, I just have the ones that are basically below the threshold, I think, of 70% expended, just highlighted in red to show, hey, these are areas where we could reduce. We haven't utilized all of the funds yet, at least. And this data is now a month old. We took this Oh, no, 2 weeks old. This was balances from April 15th. So it's only a couple of weeks old, almost 3 weeks old, but fairly accurate in the sense of the percentages. But that being said, the red basically identifies areas where we could potentially cut back a little bit because we did not utilize all of the original funding we had allocated. If we needed to redirect those funds somewhere else that requires more funding.
Dr. Powers.
I want to add too, on some of those, the expenditure is not going to happen until right at the end of the school year. For example, looking down there at the bottom or near the bottom there, well, it was at the bottom a few moments ago.
Sorry, I'm moving.
No, that's okay. The student handbook, we've allocated $9,900, have spent zero. That's because we haven't purchased them yet. I haven't placed the order yet. With regard to athletics, especially with regard to the transportation, the spring season is the most expensive transportation season for athletics because of the size of the teams, the fact that they're going away like track and so forth to many different locations. And so that's where a lot of that late expenditure is going to take place. Not necessarily for all of those. Chris is right. There may be some where we get to the end of the year. Why didn't you spend the money? Okay, you don't need it to add as much of that for the next time around.
Correct.
But I think it's really important is because we do actually need some money to pay for our internal account position that we're funding. So that's kind of why he was looking at where we were underspending. And maybe you want to talk a little bit about that, Chris.
Yeah, and I'll get down to this. And basically, this is the cell that drives all the numbers here. I'm using this $552,000 based on the enrollment of 2,000 students at 400 apiece. 69% of that gives us 552,000. As we allocate, I might only get, say, $120,000, in September. So now the numbers change. This is what I would need to allocate for now as I, distribute student fees. So this is the way this tool really works well from my perspective. To Sarah's point, these are a couple of things that are not funded by the $400 student fee. Currently, our technology, that's a separate fee, stands alone, and we've been doing pretty good with that. Well, we haven't spent a lot, as you guys know, we haven't spent a lot of the technology money that we've raised. And then to the last point, as far as the last position that we are funding out of 124 is the operations manager's position. And historically, we've been funding this through building leasing, which I've listed here. As everyone knows, that has not been fruitful during COVID times. So we've been utilizing other funding sources to make things work. We were fortunate enough to be able to be strategic about paying that money back this year. Hopefully, we talked about possibly reducing some of the above percentages to include some of this, if not all of this, but it's hard to without really taking away from some of the activities here. And that's where we need to do a little closer analysis to see what wiggle room we have to try to at least maybe fund half of this position. So it's not so stressful and dependent upon rental income. But a little side note I have here, we were able to save a lot of money by not having to use our internal accounts to pay back for positions this year. We definitely would be in a position, should rental not go well for the upcoming school year, to utilize those saved funds, those same funds that we were able to save out of the general fees that will roll over as a backup for this position should the rentals not go as anticipated. So I just wanted to add that, but this still needs a little, a little more work, as I mentioned earlier, as far as filling in the blanks and doing a closer analysis of where we could potentially have some wiggle room. But as Dr. Powers said, some things may be in the red and it may not be as accurate because those expenses have not occurred yet. And we need to be cognizant of that, of those things. These are in yellow only because, and everything else sort of matched up. If you looked at what, oh, let me get back here. I'm sorry. I put $552. I'm like, where's my numbers? Where did they go? The percentages, actually, if you look and compare what was allocated last year, according to the actual document, the percentages add up pretty dang close as far as the formula here. When you go line for line, as far as dispersed amount, allocated amount, until you get here. And that's why I've highlighted those in yellow. These are like half the amount. So we've got to look at those a little closer to see, I know we said these were allocated, but did we really use this? So again, this just needs to be cleaned up a little bit, but I think we are 75% accurate in this form. But that's all I have as far as presenting this right now. Again, there's still a little more work to be done, but I don't think it'll take forever. I think this could be done by next LSC meeting.
Yeah, which is Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why don't we segue? That's because the technology fee. So what we have to show is that, the fees are still needed. Do we need to make any changes to the fees? Or are they staying as is? And then having Sandeep, if he's available, I know he's pretty busy, to talk to us about tech. And then if you stop presenting, Mr. Bernie, then
Sorry.
that's okay. Then Sandeep can present his
Thank you.
slideshow, and Joanne's here.
Great. Hi, can everyone hear me?
Hey, hi, Sandeep.
Yes, perfect.
Hi, how's everyone doing? Glad we could get a chance to connect with everyone about this. So can you guys see my screen okay?
Yeah, if you present, it will be better.
Yeah, I'll present it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, is that better? Can you guys see it? Okay. Sorry for the glare in the background. I'm in a temporary office due to office construction. Okay, so I'm just gonna fire away into this. And Joanne, I've been talking to her a lot about this, and I know I've emailed Dr. Powers about it as well, and also talked to Sarah quite a bit about it. So this is just an update from kind of what I did before, and I think Sarah sent out the slides, and so you can kind of see the history of it if you want to as well. But really, I think the goals and the areas I was focused on when I thought about technology planning and thinking and just being more aware of technology spending at the school, there's really three types. There's student tech, computer lab tech, and teacher tech. That's kind of the areas I was focused on, especially talking with Joanne and working with her about how she thinks about things as well. And then we started out with these goals, but I think the big ones are student tech, computer lab tech, teacher tech, and you can kind of think about the other stuff as just a little more detail. So just to highlight funding, at the very top, I think there's existing about $25,000 that's allocated towards in Jones's budget towards technology. And then we have about $90,000 in tech fees. We don't know every year whether CPS is going to contribute or not. And then you've got Friends of Jones and then other funding sources. And that 90,000 then shows up as I look down below. The way we get that is, I believe there's roughly about, back when I asked, there was about $90,000 collected. It looks like it's close to 109,000. Is that right, Chris? In the last spreadsheet that I just saw?
Yes, sorry, I was muted. Yes.
Okay, I might update this in my records, so I'll make it, just to make it easy. I'll make it either 105, 110,000, whatever. But the idea is it's moving up, which is always nice from a budgeting standpoint. And then but we've budgeted about, I think if you should just do the math, the way you get to the 117,900 is $100 per student. Tech fee, about 1,965 students, approximately 60% of them we expect to pay based on non-waiver enrollment. And this is just a simple math of how we get to 90,000, and then kind of how I plug it into the top there in terms of the funding sources. Just a ballpark to think about, not exact, but just something to think about. Really what I'm focused, oh yeah, and the other issue is I think I realize now that, you know, I've joked with Joanne, you just don't know, it's unclear whether CPS is going to fund like they are this year. We found out that they're going to be funding student Chromebooks in the future, as they recently announced in April, and that's great because it opens up part of the budget for other areas of tech that that we can talk about. But the I would say when I think about student tech, the easy way to think about it is one-to-one Chromebooks, and just the simple math is there's roughly about 2,000 Chromebooks. Useful life is about 5 years, so roughly to maintain that refresh of Chromebooks and the one-to-one ratio, you need to buy about 400 Chromebooks each year at about $300 per Chromebook, and you got $120,000 of annual spending on just Chromebooks alone. And so that alone is a good justification, I think, for the tech fee. And the good news is if we get lucky and we're able to get funding from another source, then just on your radars, there's other things to think about. So that's the student part of it. I think what we're really interested in talking about today is the computer lab tech. These are the computer labs. I'm going to focus on the top part where there's 3 labs, 1, 2, and 3, and then the library lab. Here are the locations of the labs. All of these have expired. And I think part of my diligence, I talked to about 5 or 6 teachers in different areas, and obviously was talking to Joanne quite a bit. And Joanne, once again, feel free to interrupt at any point if you'd like. These are the ones that are a high priority right now. Now, the middle one, the language lab, is less of a priority at the current moment because we're trying to figure out whether language software is going to shift to a Chromebook type environment or remain in remain in the current environment where of the language lab. So we're really focused on 306, 3011, and 3030C. The other ones below this have a useful life that's spread out between now and 2026. So the big one is these are expired and the technology is so bad that they're almost unusable. So the recommendation that we have is to enter into a lease with this company called Virtuacom for computers to replace 3 out of 4 labs. Just we're going to keep the language lab on its own for now until we can figure out the issue with the language software. But the idea, the simple takeaway is that you can replace about 100 computers. If we bought those, it would be about 150 to 175,000, I believe. But with a lease, it's less than 50,000 per year. And I did talk to, the good news is every 3 years, the technology can be updated. But if we choose not to, we retain the right to buy the computers at fair market value at the end of the lease, just like a car. And I think Joanne can make that call based on whether she thinks most likely we're going to continue to get new tech. I think that's what's the teachers between computer science, e-gaming, and other teachers really want is a high-end tech-heavy lab that can meet the students' needs. And it seems like every 3 years that would be a good way to build into the budget a replacement cycle. And it's cost effective because it can be funded in part annually with the tech fees. I think it's always helpful when CPS buys the Chromebooks, that opens up tech fees. So in terms of diligence, Joanne's talking to different teachers right now to make sure the specs will meet the different needs of the student body. I spoke to the director of technology at Ball Chatham School District regarding his experiences with Virtuacom. And that kind of gave me conviction that this is they're a good vendor. And the lease experience was very good. Sorry. And I'm working right now with, I'm kind of talking to Chris, the Virtuacom guy, and the lease company, and Joanne to kind of work through final terms of the leases. I got a lot of good insights from the guy I talked to at the other school district about how to structure the lease and things to keep in mind. So that's the big thing we're really focusing on today is computer lab tech. I have other items in this, but teacher tech we'll discuss later. And this is just a summary of the recommendation. So really it's the computer lab tech and building a lease into the cost structure and being able to replace 100 computers with good tech at less than 50,000 a year. Right now, the terms are somewhere between 40 and 45,000. That's kind of where we're at, but we're still finalizing specs. I'll pause there and see if Joanne wants to add anything that I may have missed. Okay.
Sorry, no, you're doing fine. I don't have to speak. It's awesome.
Okay, thanks. Okay, that's it on my end. I'd be happy to answer any questions in terms of the diligence and talking to the different, I guess, stakeholders in all of this. But I'll pause there.
Chris, why don't you go first, and then I'll ask my question.
Oh, mine is very basic, and I hope I didn't miss it. But with the lease option, and I'm only asking because Joanne and I have been doing a few repairs as far as POs and all that stuff. What type of maintenance or repair deal does the lease option offer?
Okay, it's a good question, actually. So we can negotiate. That's part of our negotiating leverage. But I did email the guy, and he said that the lease that we have comes with a 3-year warranty. Now, I don't know to what extent the warranty covers everything, but because these are desktops, not like Chromebooks, because they actually do, that other school I talked to leases 3,000 Chromebooks. And that's a different level of wear and tear than desktops that are going to be stationed in the school. But they do have a 3-year warranty. We got to figure out exactly what that means. But the reality is, if you have stuff that Joanne can fix, and this is common to Ball Chatham school district as well. If you've got a good person that can fix it locally, like popping out screens and doing the quick repairs, that's call it first line of repair. Second line of repair is if that doesn't work, then you want to lean on the warranty and the manufacturer. The third line, and I would actually line this up with the second line, is if the manufacturer is not being responsive enough, you get Virtucom involved, and they will kickstart the repair situation with the manufacturer. And actually, the guy told me stories about how they would have like 100 Chromebooks or 200 Chromebooks with problems, and the manufacturer wasn't responsive, and they called Virtucom, and the Virtucom guy, because they do so much business, got the problem taken care of within like 2 weeks or less. So it's almost nice to have a stakeholder in the middle between you and the manufacturer that can kind of help with sort of these service things, because all the schools are strained in this area. They don't have the resources. There's one Joanne servicing the whole school, and we probably need at least 2 or 3 of her. But does that answer your question, Chris?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm assuming, because you said you've looked at other schools to see what's worked and not worked for them, this has to be a strategic source vendor.
It is, and actually, this is a vendor on the CPS platform. There's 2. There's CDW and these guys, but these guys are more on the. I think they're trying to come in as a higher touch, more flexible service model than CDW. And Joanne, correct me if I'm wrong, but that seems like what they're doing with other schools as well. They're offering a higher touch service. Like, for example, the other school paid a little bit extra, and when you get 3,000 Chromebooks, they came in and they were able to unbox all of them, get them registered on the websites, and I'm sorry, for the school, on the school systems. And literally the Joanne equivalent, all they had to do was hand the laptops to the students, as opposed to unboxing 3,000 laptops is a lot of work and getting them set up. So they have a lot more service offerings beyond just in terms of like higher end service beyond just the basics.
My question was, I have a few questions, but my first question is, would be 50, just, I know it's less than $50,000 a year for the 3 labs. And so if we wanted to do the other labs, so I'm thinking future, right? So let's say we're collecting $100,000 a year So, and I'm also
Yeah.
like, this is part of my, let's retain this $100 fee because we're going to use it.
Yeah.
If we get to the other labs, I see these are MAC labs, but then you have MACs are deprioritized. If we were
Yeah.
doing a lease program, is this something that you see that we'd lease for the digital imaging, or is that something that you think we'd purchase? I'm just thinking of like,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a good
Joanne's
question.
yeah.
Okay, I have to interrupt here. Apple
Please.
has no leasing options for us, none in CPS. They never have, which kind of stinks, but that's the nature of the beast. I wish they did.
And also, I think, hey, Joanne, correct me if I'm wrong, but those computers were purchased by friends. Is that right?
I believe so. It might have been a combination of us and friends
Yeah.
together.
Okay. Fair. That's a good point.
Something else you guys aren't aware of, and Sandeep, I'm really sorry. I just met with our librarian yesterday. He has the computer lab that's listed there, but he also has a group of what we call the center computers, which is about 30 computers. We met and discussed those 30 computers, and he said, to be honest with you, I don't need 30 of them, but I do need some. It's for kids who work on special projects that can't be done on the Chromebooks, and then they need the ability to print. So we discussed it, and I've got the quote. I forgot all about it, but
Okay. So
but
the
I
number's
got the
going up
quote
is kind of what you're
yesterday.
saying.
Well, we're not doing a lease on those. Those I want to do a buy. And I
Oh, okay.
don't want to, the reason I don't want them included, the reason I don't want them included in the lease is because what he needs is not as high end
Oh, I
as
see.
the computer science labs need. He just needs computers and monitors. Unfortunately, we have to swap monitors now because the monitors that we currently have are all VGA, and nothing that we can buy will take a VGA monitor. So we have to change to either HDMI or DisplayPort monitors. So so I just got a quote. It's under $10,000 for 10 computers in the library. Fran is using his funds because none of his iPads are allowed to be on the network anymore because of their age. CPS has knocked them off the network. So he's using his funds to purchase, I believe it's about 8 iPads, and I would like us to purchase 10 computers for in there. It's a space that gets used a lot. And
Is that included in the 3030C, the 36 here, or is that?
No, that's a separate. When you first walk into the library and you see Fran's desk, if you look a little beyond that, there are 30 computers that sit out in the open. Those are the 30 that sit out in the open. The computer lab is in a separate room, all in and of itself in there.
Are you interested in getting a lease quote to bundle it for those and getting just really basic, simple computers? Or would you rather buy? Are you interested in looking into it? That's all I'm asking.
Well,
or you think $1,000 you might as well buy it. It'll last 5 years.
Kind of go back and forth. Forgive me, guys. I am having. I know. But the thing is, with Fran's computers, with the library computers, although they're used a lot, since he doesn't need something that's as high end, I question whether we should include them as a lease. I think he's going to have those computers for at least twice the amount of time that the computer science labs are going to have them, based on what I've seen in the past.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, great. Well, we'll keep that in mind.
And 10 is enough, you think? Because we have, in the chat, I asked Mr. Bernie, like, for those fees, we could use the tech fee money that we collected this year to purchase, because if we
here's when I spoke, I'm sorry, I'm also having an internet issue, so out here apparently we've been having problems all day, according to my dog sitter. Anyway, I spoke with Fran about this, and he said that the computers aren't being used as much as they once were since the kids have the Chromebook. What he'd like to do is clear some of the desk area there, and he would like to have the desks free for the kids to put their Chromebooks on to work on, as well as the seats, because some of them want them in their lap, some of them don't. You know, I kind of get it. And he might reconfigure that area a little bit, but he said 10 computers is what he wants for that area. I met with him yesterday morning.
Awesome. And you think like he just put some power strips out for charging, or would he want any like charging station or?
Right. Well, I mean, the good news about the library is the library has a lot more outlets built into the tables and into the floors than a lot of the areas in our building.
Okay, great. I'll try to add that to my list. I'll connect with you offline and kind of update this. If that's all right with you.
Okay. Sure. I meant, like I said, it's been
And
busy.
I would
AP
actually just
exams
say
are
that
going on this week and next. It's crazy.
just to ask, I'm sorry, just to ask real quick, how many computers are currently there? And he wants 10. So he's dropping about 5, is that right?
No, it's from 30 to 10.
Dropping about 20.
Wow.
Yes, he's
Okay.
dropping 20.
So by the way, when I was talking to a lot of teachers, I noticed that as well. Like I would talk to a science teacher that would say, you know, that she doesn't need the desktops anymore. In fact, they're collecting dust and they're annoying. She wants to get rid of them and just have 3 extra Chromebooks. And like, what a great trade. We can give people what they want and it costs like nothing. It costs very little instead of having the cost of replacing actual desktops. So that's great. I wanted just to mention that as I talk to teachers. Go ahead, Joanne. Oh, I thought you were gonna.
The other thing I wanted to answer, something that you guys were talking about as far as what CPS is doing with all of this. From what we've been told, see, I had heard the TECO rumor. We have a TECO rumor mill, and we have a GChat space that just rings all day long. And somebody hears something, and then the rest of us find out. And we all try and check into it and see what's going on. So we had heard that CPS was going to be purchasing the Chromebooks this year before it was actually announced. So CPS will purchase the Chromebooks this year, but this will be the last year that they're going to do that. So what their plan, from what I understand, or I mean, from everything that all the TechCos have been going through, is these Chromebooks are going to be the 3100. So it'll be nice because all of our Chromebooks will be up to date. There won't be any more end of life. Every student will have the most up-to-date Chromebook. Those Chromebooks, Google has changed the end of life. Originally, it was scheduled for June of 2026. It's now to June of 2027. So our incoming freshmen are going to be the class of 2026. So these Chromebooks should last us one more year after that into the incoming freshmen. We don't know that whether CPS is telling us they're going to knock the old ones off the network. We haven't seen that yet.
How many are they buying? Do you know how many are Jones will get?
We went through numbers initially, and they told me they were going to get back to me with our numbers. They have not. The only thing they're telling us is that they will be delivered in July.
So you don't know if it's 200 or 400.
Correct. Correct. If what I see is correct, it should be more than, I mean, honestly, it should be more than 400.
That's great.
So
excellent. That's great.
And right now my plan is, after I collect the ones from the seniors that are 3100s, I want to start distributing them during Freshman Connection. So the start of school, normally we only have about 400 of the freshmen who show up for Freshman Connection, but for the start of school, that would mean we might have 100 freshmen that didn't have their Chromebooks yet.
Great. So the just the 2 other things I would add is that we have $110,000 of tech fee money that would be great to spend $50,000 on getting this lease going, and then getting another I would say $15,000 towards new computers for the library, and then what I would love to happen is in a perfect world, like 25 to 30,000 would go to Joanne to upgrade teacher technology on an as needed basis. Because what we're seeing is that the teachers don't need desktops, laptops, and a bunch of other stuff. They really are just asking for laptops and a projector in the room, and that's basic tech. And then if they want anything more, they can apply for it, and that would come at Joanne's discretion out of her $25,000 to $35,000 over the next couple years. And then once that's kind of that box is checked, then the money can go towards other areas. But what I worry about is that you know, we've got a full budget of $110,000 this year, call it. Next year, you got $50,000 for a lease, and then another, you know, you've got to still fund the Chromebooks, which is going to be, I mean, I guess to Joanne's part, we don't know really. If we get a ton this summer, we may not need to buy as many next year. We'll see, is what you're saying about the Chromebook situation.
Right.
So-
But look at
also we
it.
have
But just remember, look at this right here. In June of 22,
I know.
we have like, I mean, we actually need a lot this year. So I get your point. That's why we're going to get a big chunk maybe. But you're saying that it would change the useful life might go up, and that would change these numbers. Okay.
Right.
Got it.
Do we know if the use of life has already changed? Can we update this for Tuesday or no?
Has it changed officially, Joanne?
For the 3,100 Chromebooks?
Well, I
Yes,
guess
Google
the
has
problem
changed.
is these have a useful life of, I guess if I think of the useful life of the 3120s that expire, those are gone now. Actually, I forgot. Those are being replaced. Is that right? The ones that
Well,
expired?
I'm still removing screens from them.
Okay. And then but the
Hey,
627 is what,
we have students who crack screens all the time. And then those I'm going to remove the screens before we dispose of them.
Yeah.
The screens will be removed.
now this crew that's expiring this June, the 627, hopefully they're going to replace those, and those will have a useful life of how long? 5 years or more?
All of these, your next two, go down to your next one where you're
Yeah.
talking about the 3,100s, those two.
Yeah.
Those, the end of life now changes from June 2026 to June 2027.
Okay. All right. All right. And then these will be replaced, and they will last until 2028. Is that right?
2027, everything is 2027 right now.
Even the
On the
new
new
crop,
ones.
if CPS
The new
buys-
batch that they get in are going to be the new ones that they get in are
they're
going to be the
3100s.
3100s.
Oh, Jesus.
They
so
are.
they're all June. So great. So we
Yes.
got to replace 2000.
Exactly.
2000 growth.
So what I want to show on Tuesday is
I'll update this.
the use of that tech fee this year. So the lease, the 10 new computers in the lab, and I'm assuming the lease, people will ask me, does that include monitors and all of the
Yeah, it
hardware?
does.
And it does. And that's a question that's going to be asked. And then the other question will be, I think that, so right now, Joanne gets 25 grand. I think she should get the balance of whatever is not leased.
Yes.
I don't,
I agree.
and do with it, you know, Mr. Burney, we can present it however we want to, but like,
I would just call it teacher tech.
or it's just a tech fee, and then we just it's just dispersed to
Oh, I see.
wherever it
Teacher-
needs to go, and that it's tech for the school and it's
Fair.
tech for everybody. And then my other question was I'm gonna need to answer the question of if you go back to the other computer labs, these other computer labs that are expiring, for example, June 2023, what do people want to replace that with?
That has to be max.
It has to be Mac. So that's going to be that's next year. And so that would really be in this year's budget, fiscal year, 23 budget. Does anyone have approximate dollar figure for that? Because maybe that is the tech.
Joanne, what's the average cost of a those are desktops, right?
The average cost of our Mac labs has been between 50 and 55,000.
Okay, that's good. That's what I'll present. Because that could be the balance of the tech.
So it's about 1,600 a computer. Is that about right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just do it more like a big, I like doing.
Yeah,
big
I
number.
just wanted to know for my own.
Okay. Okay. I think this is awesome. I wish, did they give you a storeroom for all those screens that you harvest?
What's that?
Oh, I was thinking of all the Chromebook
Oh.
parts. Yeah, like where
Yeah.
the Frankensteining lab. All right.
It's great. I mean, I'll Frankenstein anything that I can. It saves us a lot of money. Those screens run anywhere from $40 to $60 a piece. So it saves us a lot.
Yeah, I have some cracked keyboards on mine. Mr. Burney, do you need anything else from us? Do you want to touch base on via email in the next few days, and I'll put together a presentation, and then I'll tell you what I need.
Yeah, I'll be working, trying to fill in the blanks and seeing where we may have, wiggle room, so to speak, to move some things around, but I feel good about it. I don't want to dare disturb mothers on Mother's Day weekend, though.
I'm working all weekends, busy time, so
Okay. All right.
it's okay. I'll take my vacation.
Yeah, let's touch base tomorrow, or and we can set up a time to just check in. I'll probably be here working Saturday for a good part of the morning, quite honestly.
Okay. Well,
So,
I'm sorry to hear that.
Nature of the beast.
Yeah. Okay. I think I'm good. I don't have anything else unless anyone else has.
Great information too, Sandeep and Joanne.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. I'll try to send you guys. I'll send you an update with some of the updated figures that we just talked about. And if you need anything else, just shoot me an email and let me know.
Yeah, and I know you said you're going to use that 108,000, but part of our proposal for tomorrow, and I think Joanne may have touched on that, with the library.
Oh yeah.
So almost.
I'll add that in there too.
It's like 9,000, almost 10 grand. I don't have it in front of me. Sorry, but you may as well leave your numbers where they are.
Oh, I see your point. Okay,
Because
understood.
Roughly, I'm just trying to find the amount. Sorry, guys. So here it is, CW. Well, 9130. Yeah, 9130. So we're proposing to take that from the existing tech balance.
Great.
And this
Great.
says 20, Joanne. So, oh, it's not. It's fine. I read the quote. Never mind.
Okay, great.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thanks so much.
Okay, I gotta run. Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You so much.